We are proceeding to our routes to exit the Hormuz Strait.
On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, we're setting sail for the Ayatollah booth. I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to today's episode. So, a quick update for March 31st. There was a lot that actually happened over the last day. There's some bad information out there I want to clarify, but most importantly, I want to look at this video that I just showed you a clip of. This is from NewsNation. They were able to ride on the bridge of one of the ships that exited the Strait of Hormuz through the toll booth between Keesham and Larrick Island. We're going to take a look at that. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. So here's the Joint Maritime Information Center advisory for March 31st, still showing a critical threat environment in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, and Gulf of Oman, with a moderate level in the Gulf of Aden and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait due to the Houthis. Since March 1st, we've had 26 ship attacks. This shows 0 attacks over the past 48 hours, yet later in the report, we're going to talk about 2 of them specifically. 138 ships normally transit daily through the Strait of Hormuz. It's an important number to remember because we're going to talk about some posts recently that are talking about how things are getting better in the Strait. We'll quantify that for you. 5 vessels went through during the past 24 hours, and we're still getting localized and sporadic interference on global navigation and GPS systems. So we talked about 2 attacks within the past 48 hours. One was a container ship, the Express Rome. The ship was off the coast of Saudi Arabia within the Persian Gulf. 2 missiles splashed into the water approximately 50 to 100 meters on the starboard side. No damage, and the crew is safe. And then the Al Salami, a crude oil tanker, which was off the coast of the UAE, about 31 miles. It was hit on the starboard side with a fire. The fire has been extinguished, and the crew is safe. I want to talk about the latter ship here in some more detail. So this is Al Salami at anchor, 319,000 tons, 15-year-old, flagged in Kuwait. The vessel was hit on the starboard side forward. You can see the hole right here. I'm going to give you a better view here in a minute. And the fire that was caused by this. Now, this was hit by either a missile or a drone. And the reason I'm telling you that is the ship was fully loaded down to its marks. That hole is well above the waterline. Even if fuel came out and it rose, it would not have risen that far. This was hit by either a missile or a unmanned aerial vehicle. Here's an image of that hole in a little bit more detail. Now, you may be sitting here wondering, wait a minute, Sal, that metal is blown out, not blown in. The hull was penetrated. Whatever it was flew into the side of the ship. Ships like Al Salami are double-hulled, meaning that there is an outer skin and an inner skin. What probably happened here is the drone or missile penetrated into the side of the vessel and then detonated, and it appears to have been a low-order detonation. I don't think it was a full detonation. That detonation then blew out through the hull. The explosion is going to go where the least resistance is, and that's why the hull is blown out. Probably what then happened is the cargo tank, at least the number 1 forward on the starboard side tank, was punctured, spilled oil out. We know there was an oil spill. We know there was a large fire on the water. That probably spilled out, so there was some oil pollution here and some fire. A lot of it probably got burnt off in the conflagration. But what we see here is the damage caused by it. Understand that modern ships today are pretty resilient. So I know shipping, I don't know weapon systems as well as ships. This was provided by JMIC. They're kind of strike systems for the type of UAVs and cruise missiles they have. Obviously something hit it, I just don't know. It would have to be probably a little bit more than a Shaheed, I would think, to penetrate through the side of the vessel the way it did. But at the same time, if it was a missile of some kind, we expect more damage. But we do know that based on hits experienced by ships during the Red Sea, many ships had been hit by cruise and ballistic missiles, but did not show a lot of damage. We think that had to do with the fact that a lot of the missile systems did not fully detonate. We saw that repeatedly, time and time again, throughout there. Marlin Luanda, for example, is one ship that comes to mind that was penetrated by a ballistic missile, and it really just penetrated one hold, lit that hold on fire, never got a full detonation at the time. So that fire went out very quickly. It was right off the coast of the UAE, so probably had a pretty fast response by local tugs and firefighting apparatus. They were able to get the ship under control and probably the crew back on board right now. Again, it's really hard to do a significant damage to fully loaded cargo ships, especially a ship over 300,000 tons like this vessel. So the other thing here is the transits through the Strait of Hormuz. We have the data for 29 March. A total of 6 ships transited the Strait of Hormuz, 4 freighters, 2 inbound, 2 outbound, and then 2 tankers, 1 inbound, 1 outbound on 29 March. And then when we look at 30 March, there were 3 freighters that sailed outbound, bulkers, and 2 tankers came inbound. And once again, I want to go back to the issue that we are not seeing the ships that the president had talked about. He talked about 8 to 10 tankers, Pakistani tankers, coming in. Pakistan doesn't have 8 to 10 tankers, let me be clear, number one. And then he talked about 20 ships coming out here. We have not seen any of those. And yes, could they have turned off their AIS? They could have, but why would they if they're given permission by Iran to leave? Plus, they would have shown up in the Gulf of Oman. We're just not seeing that level of transits right now. The other thing we're seeing right now is like, hey, the number of ships going through is increasing. So everybody's discovering marine traffic, turning it on and seeing a few ships go through. So the reason you need to be careful about what people post is if you don't have a reference for it, it may look like a lot. This is the traffic through the Strait of Hormuz on February 27th. This is the day before Israel and the United States struck Iran. Talked about 130 ships daily going through the straits. Just notice a near constant flow. Red are tankers, green are cargo ships. This is the main shipping channel right here. And you can see this kind of ever-ending flow. It just doesn't stop. Now compare that to this image, which shows you March 30th and 31st. You just have a few select vessels going through. At a press conference today, President Trump talked about a tremendous amount of ships going through. There's not a tremendous amount of ships. We're in single digits, either one way in or out. We're nowhere near the 130 plus vessels that normally transit through the Strait of Hormuz. And this graph from Lloyd's List kind of demonstrates that. Here you can see the breakdown by the different types of ships. And again, we're not even moving the equal number of bulk carriers we used to move through on a daily basis through the Strait of Hormuz in total vessel transits. So again, just to be careful regarding information with that. All right, let's go ahead over to that Newsmax video because I thought it was really, really interesting. And I want to kind of break it down for you because I think it's a great one. It's a short one, but it's great.
We are proceeding to our routes to exit the Hormuz Strait along the Iranian coast within 12 nautical miles from the Iranian coast.
So this is the motor vessel Zea, a Maltese-flagged 81,000-ton bulk carrier built back in 2013. This ship is exiting the Persian Gulf. She is coming down from the very northern port of Iran where she had offloaded a cargo of grain that had come in from Santos, Brazil. If you look at her track for the past year, and this is her track, this is a very normal kind of bulk carrier, what you see. She's involved in heading to South America, to Brazil, loading up with grain. She's also gone all the way up into the Baltic, up toward St. Petersburg. She's also operated in the Black Sea, kind of very typical. The ship has done business in the Persian Gulf and also in India. So again, very kind of common passages we see for ships like this. The ship is heading outbound. What you see right here is a typical layout on a bridge. You have a couple of lookouts forward of the consoles where the helmsman and the captain would be. You've got some cameras mounted up. They're obviously photographing everything they want to see. It's not clear that there's a pilot embarked on board. You do not typically need pilotage to go in and out through the Strait of Hormuz. But again, what we're having here is much different because these ships are going out between Larak and Qisham Island. This is all within Iranian territorial waters.
On our way up, we see the remains of Major Nari. That was the Thailand unlucky cargo vessel which was hit by the rockets.
So this ship was hit back on 11 March. This is the vessel that was abandoned and 3 crew members on board were lost in the engine room. The ship was hit by an unmanned surface vessel underneath the stern, detonating the engine room. And this is the image you had of those harrowing sailors at sea here. So this is a kind of a stark reminder as you're sailing out. This vessel has gone ashore on Qisham Island. So we know that this ship is going through the toll booth there because it's right between the 2 islands.
It just remains of the wars in this area. Every mile is closer to going outside.
So that is the burnt out hull of the Safe Sea Vishnu. This was the ship hit by an unmanned surface vessel on 11 March, all the way at the northern end of the Persian Gulf. This is at the Anchorage off of Basra, Iraq, and Kuwait. The ship was hit. It was loaded with a cargo of naphtha. It ignited and it basically engulfed the ship. This is why the outside of the ship is basically a charcoal briquette, what you're seeing here. It was actually alongside another vessel, the Zephyr, and they were doing a ship-to-ship transfer. So this is the Safe Sea Vishnu, the attack. We believe this is photographed from the vessel that brought out the unmanned surface vessel. The Iranians don't have a lot of high tech here when it comes to this. They basically sail out with the two boats together, one of them being the drone. They then get the boat close to it. They abandon it. We saw this with the Houthi. The Houthi would jump overboard, but probably here they probably just got onto the other boat, and then they drive it in this side, and this is the fire that was left over from that attack on Safe Sea Vishnu.
We reach south of and go outside of Hormuz.
I'm not sure the nationality here of the ship's master, of the Zea. Russian Ukrainians are very commonplace out there in sailing, even with a mixed crew, which is what I think you see here. I'm not sure if they're Filipino, Chinese, Indonesian, Indian. It's very hard to tell who the crew is on board, but this is a fairly typical situation you see on board. So a lot of controls up here. You'll have your radars and navigation systems, very commonplace. In the center, you'll have the ship's helm control along with all your engine room controls so that you control the engines directly from the bridge, and then radars and piloting stations. And you usually have a couple of sets of those, one on each side, so that the ship's captain, the mate on watch, or if you have a pilot on board, they can use all those systems. So that shows you the setup that they're going to do. This is Kishim Island right here, and here is Larak Island. Now, normally the channel is way south of this, down in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. This is within the territorial waters here of Iran, and I'm going to show it to you on the larger chart here in a minute on marine traffic. The wreck of the vessel you saw before is somewhere right here along the shore of Kishim Island.
Today is 26th of March 2026 and we are still inside the Persian Gulf.
So very typical bulk carrier that you see right here. This is a ship that carries grain. So those hatches you see here, all of them going forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 7 hatches right here. Those hatches are on rails right here. You see the tracks, they actually slide open so that you can just have huge voluminous cargo on board, so grain, so you dump it in either through feeders and you scoop it out or vacuum it out. You'll typically see on one of the hatches here a helicopter landing area. This is for pilots. So when I was down in Australia back in October, we took a bulker out. This was carrying iron ore out, and we actually had to leave the vessel via helicopter to get back in because we were so far out at the time. Very standard practice. The green here you see is the safe walkway. This is an area, it's easy to see at night, so if you have a flashlight or if you have a red light, you can see it very easily. These are ramps over the pipe so you don't trip. Believe me, the trip hazards are a big problem here on ships all the time. Try to make it as easy as possible. The bridge on these ships are all the way back aft, so you get a full view here, and you got to be careful that things can get under the bow and you can't see them because of the length of the ship.
We yesterday received 6 and we are still inside the Persian Gulf. We yesterday received permission to transit Hormuz Strait, and right now we are just at the entrance near to Iranian coast, and last instructions evening time were to stop and wait until the morning and then to continue our voyage.
So shift you over to marine traffic. This shows you Zea here. She is holding in position. This is on 25 March at 2100 hours UTC, which would be the morning of the 26th. You see the ship is going to follow this track, and she showed her AIS throughout the entire voyage here. So here she is. She's going to come up between Kishim and Larak Island. I'm going to come over here for a second. I want to switch you over to the navigation feature here on marine traffic. This is the main channel. Normally, Zea would head out this way through this outbound channel and head out this way. But because of the toll booth that's been put in by the Iranians, we believe they're charging $2 million to go through. We don't know exactly how that's being done. We don't know if it's in dollars or yuan or how it's being done. Again, it could be an easy pass for all we know in the window. I didn't see one in the window of Zea, but that's what it could be. But that's the route that the ship is going to take on the way out.
These are the vessels still waiting to go inside through the Hormuz Strait.
So I think this scene is actually spliced in from a little bit later in the track. If we look at her track when she's outside the Strait of Hormuz, there is an exceptionally large anchorage of vessels here waiting to get in. And he mentioned that these are ships waiting to get in. I think that's where we're seeing it.
We've been afraid. We are now going deeper inside. We see some military speedboats passing ahead of us. Everybody's looking where they're going. They are watching us for sure, but nobody's looking for us.
So that's an interesting statement right there. Obviously, we know there are some small boats operating between the islands. The U.S. military has been in and out of this area, but they have tried to avoid targeting commercial ships. There's a lot of ferries and small little boats that operate between Bandar Abbas and these islands. So we think that there are boats out there inspecting, making sure that this is, Zea coming out, and that it's the correct ship, basically. It's not one trying to sneak out here. But the idea that nobody is looking for us is I don't quite understand the statement here beyond the fact that he's like trying to sneak out. I mean, he's not. AIS is blasting. Everybody saw him come out when he came out on the 26th.
We can see many vessels just waiting for Bandar Abbas, waiting for passage, waiting to load.
So this is an image that I got to tell you I've seen a lot of. There are people heading out of Bandar Abbas. They're filming it and talking about these are the ships waiting to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Those are ships not waiting to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Those are ships that are off Bandar Abbas. So when you come between the toll booth here, out between Larak and Kishim, these are all the ships waiting to go into Bandar Abbas. This flow of ships has been basically unfiltered. The U.S. is allowing these ships to move, and they're coming in and out. I think that's what you're seeing in the video.
Many of these vessels actually are Chinese, unmarked, gray fleet.
So he's meaning the dark fleet. These are vessels that are dealing with sanctioned trade, which is actually true. I mean, a lot of these would be. A lot of vessels have been sanctioned by the Iranian fleet. I don't think these are Chinese vessels. I think these are vessels that are doing Chinese trade is what he's referring to.
Finally, we are outside of Hormuz Strait. Passing outside this field, like you managed to pull the anchor out of the very deep, muddy ground, finally free.
So that was a really good video by NewsNation. Hats off to them for being able to get that. In the case of the vessel, the Zea, here she is just off the coast of Oman, the Saudi Arabian coast. She is heading to Santos in Brazil. Not sure where she's going to go after that. I would assume that maybe she would not be so fast to want to return back to Iran, but who knows? You never know with a shipping company. If the money is good, they will return in a minute. Anyway, I thought this was a great video. I wanted to share it with you. Hats off to NewsNation for being able to get that. It's great to get the perspective of the mariners. Let's not forget 20,000 mariners, 3,000 some vessels inside the Persian Gulf. Of those, about 1,000 of them are large deep draft vessels involved in international trade. A lot of them are bottled up. They're not able to get out like Zea has. So, really thinking about those merchant mariners out there and the situations they're facing, getting low on food and fuel, some having issues with making water in that area. It's hard to get in and out of ports. It's hard to get stores, hard to get fuel. It's at a premium there. A lot of ports aren't letting them in for fear of attacks like you saw with Al Salim. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so be alerted about new videos as they come out. Leave a comment, share it across social media, and if you can, support the page. How do you do that? You hit the super thanks button down below or head on over to Patreon and become a monthly, yearly subscriber. Until the next episode, Sal, sign off.